think I'd like practice these openings or something to like get a good one. Nope. Let's math it up. All right, so we're going to get right into it. This is percentages assignment, but of course it has like fractions and decimals built right into it, so it's not necessarily only percentages, but percentage is a fraction. And anyway, we're going to start with question 1a and work our way through, and we're going to try and show our work when necessary and when it makes sense. So 1a. So this is converting a decimal to a fraction. Converting a decimal to a percent. And it's pretty straightforward, right? Percent is per 100. So we're going to convert to a percentage by changing this decimal into a hundredth, a part of a hundredth, and then writing the percent sign after it, essentially. So 0.2, this is 2/10 or 20, right? So I'll write this 20 hundredths. 20 out of 100 is equal to 20%. So what I like to do is I like to think of it as moving my decimal spot over 2, 1, 2. And you could think of it as if we were multiplying by 100. Right? When you multiply by 100, we're moving that decimal place over 2 spots. So let's try it again. 2b, 0.5, we'll write this as 0.50 or 50 100ths. Let's think of it, we can even write this out this time. Multiply this by 100 to get 50 out of 100. We turn a decimal into a percent by writing it as a multiplication statement. So this is going to equal 50%. Right, we're moving, once again, moving that decimal 1, 2 places over, and it would be here now. Right, we're moving decimal 1, 2, and then it kind of shows up behind the 50%. So let's move a little bit quicker. Let's slide this decimal place over 2 spots. Remember, it's like we're multiplying by 100, and this is going to equal 66%. This is 66 hundredths. When you multiply by 100, it becomes 66%. 66% is 66 out of 100. Now, this one's the same technique. It might seem a little more difficult because it's a number greater than 1, but percentages can be greater than 100. So simply multiply by 100, and that means we're going to move our decimal place over 2 spots, and our answer will be 144%. Simple as that. 1e, 125 hundredths or 125 thousandths. This is going to be equal to, right? Move our decimal place over 1, 2 spots to get 12.5%. 12.5%. Right, we moved our decimal place over 2 places, multiplied by 100. One more time. It's going to be multiplying by 100. 1, 2. This is going to be equal to 156%. Not too hard. Changing a decimal to a percentage, not too difficult. Now, this one, converting a percent to a decimal, we're going the opposite way now. We're going from hundredths, 150 out of 100, right? 50%. And now we need to move backwards to a decimal. So instead of multiplying by 100, we're going to divide by 100. So 50% is going to be like, it's going to be equivalent to 50 divided by 100. And this is going to equal 0.5. That's our answer, 0.5. So again, our decimal starts here and it moves over 2 places. 2 places. B, 70%. Our decimal would be here on the 70, there, and it's going to move over 2 places. 70% is going to be equal to 0.7 as a decimal. You could have a 0.70, but you don't need it. 0.7. 23. Now this one, you will need that second number. So let's divide this by 100. Or, in other words, we're going to move our decimal spot over 2 places, and it's going to equal 0.23. So we can't just drop the 3 there, right? Like up here, we dropped the 0, and we just have 5, no 0. And on this side, we drop the 0, but only because we don't need it there. 0.7 is the same as 0.70, whereas 0.23 is not the same as 0.20 or 0.2. Not the same. So we can't just drop the second number unless it's a 0. If it's just a placeholder at the end of our number. D, 127%. Right, there's our decimal. We're going to move our decimal 2 place over. So our decimal, equivalent decimal is going to be 1.27. That's going to be our decimal version of 127%. Now this one, there's our decimal. Now I'm going to rewrite this here. So 0.36 divided by 100. Now remember, whenever you divide by 100, we need to make sure that we move our decimal place 2 spaces over. In order to get ready for this, I'm going to write another 0 in here because we're going to move over 1 space and a second space. That's where our new decimal is going to be. So our answer to this is going to be equal to 0.0036%. Sorry, not percent, just a decimal. 0.00. So pretty small decimal number. E. F is going to be, again, just moving decimal place over 1 place, 2 place. Our decimal is going to be 0.124. That's our decimal, 0.124. This is really not too hard. Well, these two aren't. As long as you understand moving the decimal place back and forth, that's not too bad. So, Next section here, convert a fraction to a decimal. So, I'm in the way here with this. Let's go here. All right. So when you're converting a fraction to a decimal, we want to make sure that we want to understand that a fraction represents a division problem, right? So 1/4 is 1 divided by 4. So when you do that division, you're going to be left with a decimal. And then when you have a decimal, you then need to multiply it by 100 to get the percent. So I can show you the long division to get 1/4, or really we should memorize what these are. 1/4. It's 1/4, right? If you're working with fractions and you're working with these numbers, you should start to memorize what these numbers mean and how they relate to decimals. So 1/4 is going to be equal to 0.25. 0.25 is going to then be multiplied by 100, and that will equal 25%. So 1/4 is equal to 0.25, and then when you multiply 0.25 by 100, that's what brings us 25%. Or you can think 25%, 25 decimal, and 1/4 are all equivalent. So 1/4 is 25%. Let's do 3b. 1/2. This is going to be equal to 0.5. We can multiply this by 100, or we can think of it as 0.50, which is going to be equal to 50%. Remember, to get from a decimal to a fraction, I'm multiplying by 100, and that brings me to a whole number, 50. 50 out of 100. All right. Number 2. So 2/5. 2/5. Now remember, I can easily create this into 4/10. And then from there, it's easy to make a decimal. Right? But again, you should probably start to remember that 2/5 is 4/10. 1/5 is 2/10. 3/5 is 6/10. Like, it's a simplified version of a nice base 10 fraction. So if we think of this as times 2 and times 2, right? We're creating an equivalent fraction that has a base 10, which is 4/10. It's kind of nice that way to then switch that into 0.4, and we can even think of it as 0.40, which is going to be equal to 40%, right? Because we're going to multiply this by 100, and it's going to get us to 40%. 5/8. Okay. Again, this division, this isn't about long division. I don't want you to do long division. If you really have to, you could type this into a calculator. What if I have a calculator app on here? I do not. What? I don't. Why don't I? Anyway, if you were to type this into a calculator, you would get 0.675 675 thousandths. But if you don't know that offhand, if you don't know how to get there mentally, just use a calculator. Divide, type in 5 divided by 8. And it's going to take you there, and then work from there. Don't worry about long division right now. You just want to understand that 5 divided by 8 is what 5/8 means. And to get to the decimal form of 5/8, you just divide. So just do that on a calculator if you don't already know. So this is going to be equal to 0.675. Sorry, not 675, 625, which is going to be equal to 62.5%. So 5 out of 8 is 62.5%. 3/10, it's a nice base 10 here. 3/10 is equal to 0.3, which is equal to, right, multiply by 100. It's going to bring us to 30%. F5, okay, so 5 over 2. If you divide 5 over 2, or 5 halves, that's going to be equal to 2 and 1/2. So 2.5. And then, of course, you'll, as a fraction, this is going to be 250%, because we're going to multiply this by 100, if you remember, which will make it 250%. Oh, I did extra work on this one. Well, I'm just going to do it again anyway. Convert fraction to decimal. Convert fraction to percent. 3/10. This is going to equal 0.30. And that will be 30%. 1/8. An eighth is 0.125 of a decimal. 0.125, and this will equal 12.5%. Remember, shifting our decimal place over 2, 1, 2, 12.5%. Shifting our decimal place is also like multiplying by 100. 1/2 is going to be equal to 0.5 as a decimal, and as a fraction, it will equal 50%. Right? Shifting our decimal place over 1 spot, 2 spot, and we're going to need a 0 placeholder there. D, 1/5. Now 1/5 is the same as 2/10. Right? Base 10, or 2/10 is 0.2. When we multiply that by 100, it's going to be equal to 20%. 20%. Now 20% is our final answer there. Now this one is 1 2/3. Now how do we do this one? I think we're going to need to convert this to an improper fraction, and then divide to get our decimal, and then multiply by 100. Or we could just make the assumption that that's a 100% and add that on at the end. This is going to act as a 1 to whatever decimal we get here. So this is going to equal 2 divided by 3 is going to be equal to, and we're going to add our 100% and then carry our 66.6% or decimal. 166%. No, that's not right. That's what's going on. 1.66. 1.66, and then of course now we multiply by 100. There we go. And then that'll get us to 166%. There we go. That's better. Didn't seem right. 15 over 3. Now 15 over 3. So this is going to be equal to 5. 5.0 if you're thinking about it. Now how can 5.0 or 5 be represented as a percentage? Of course, we're just going to multiply by 100 and that's going to equal 500%. 500%. You don't hear that too often. 500%. All right. Convert percent to fraction and simplify to lowest terms. Now remember, a percent is per 100. So when we want to do this, we can write the number over 100, and then we can simplify our fraction, which is going to be 1/10. So we want to find the greatest common factor, which is divide by 10 and divide by 10. This is the greatest common factor in this example. So it's going to equal 1/10. 5b, 25%. Well, why don't we just go like this? 25% is going to equal 25 out of 100, which we can then divide both the top and the bottom by 25, because that's the greatest common factor, and it's going to be 1/4. So my answer is 1/4. 44%. Now 44% means 44 out of 100, which equals, let's say we divide each by 4, which will equal our lower fraction of 11/25. Can't simplify that anymore. All right, so we're going to go 36%, which will be equal to 36 over 100, 36 out of 100. And then we can simplify this to, we can divide again by 4, divide that by 4. We're going to get 9/25. 37%. This is going to be equal to 37 over 100. And that's it. That's as simple as that one gets. F, 154%. So this is going to be equal to 154 over 100. Now, let's simplify this. We can divide the top definitely by 2. Well, let's see what happens when we divide by 2 at first, which will equal something over 50. 75 would be 150, 76, 77. 77 over 50. Now, only number that goes in 77 is 7 and 11. That's it, 77 over 50. Well, we can simplify that as a mixed fraction. So let's be 1 and 27 50ths. Yeah. That's it. Cool. Catch you next time. Peace out.